Welcome, everyone, to Exploring the Unsolved with Melissa, where we dig into some of the most perplexing true crime mysteries that refuse to give us answers. As you can see, I have a little guest here on my bed, which unfortunately, he's a new co host, but we don't know how long he'll be in these videos. But please enjoy him while you can. And also, welcome to the second episode of Tragic Wary, aka February's, aka if you haven't heard what this month's theme will be, we tragic cases of couples and young people, families who should have had happy endings, but have been lost it due to a tragic crime. Today, we're exploring a very tragic case.
Like and subscribe.
It all began on the night of February 14th, 2000. Two young lives filled with hope, love, and dreams were tragically taken in a senseless act of violence. Stephanie Lynn Hart and Nick Kunselman were just 16 and 15 years old when their lives were brutally cut short at a Subway sandwich shop in Littleton, Colorado. What should have been a typical night of work for teenagers, spending a few hours at a counter of a fast food joint, turned into one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries of the early 20th century. The story of Stephanie and Nick is one of love, loss, and an yielding search for justice that still continues even today. What we know happened is that it was around 12:47 on February 14, 2000, just hours into the new day, when two high school sweethearts, Stephanie and Nick, were murdered in cold blood inside the Subway located just a few blocks south of Columbine High School in Littleton. The two had spent the evening working at the Subway. Nick was an employee, and Stephanie was waiting for him to finish his shift. Unfortunately, Stephanie was not supposed to be there. She actually had snuck out that night and did not tell her parents or loved ones where she was going. At the time, the area had already been rocked by the events of the Columbine High School shooting, which had occurred just 10 months earlier. Littleton was still recovering from the trauma, and this new tragedy just shook the community to its core. Let's remember Stephanie and Nick, for who they were, a talented and passionate young couple who had dreams far beyond their years. Stephanie Lynn Hart-Grizzell was born on October 28, 1983, and was 16 years old. She was 5'1" and weighed around 110 pounds. Stephanie was a free-spirited, creative artistic person full of life, and she was known for her love of painting and jewelry making. Her dream was to escape with Nick, living an artistic, bohemian lifestyle. She was the kind of young woman who believed the power of art and music to heal, to speak truth, and to inspire. And that's something I very connect with her. So she was more of a free spirit, if you will. Her family and friends remember her as a kind-hearted and gentle soul, someone who would light up a room with her laughter and creativity. And then there was Nick Kunselman, born March 15th, 1984. He, at just 15 years old, Nick stood 5'7" and weighed 154 pounds. He was a musician at heart. With a love of playing the guitar, he dreamed of a life spent creating and performing, a life where he and Stephanie could share their passions. Nick was a teenager with so much potential, but it was tragically taken away from him far too soon. Together, Steph and Nick actually met in middle school, but as a friendship grew, that turned into a romance, and then a relationship began, and shared a bond that felt unbreakable. Their future was filled with promise, both eager to explore the world and live their truth side by side. But by later that night, something went terribly wrong. At approximately 12:47 a.m. on February 14th, 2000, a fellow employee at the subway noticed the lights were on. The normally bustling shop had fallen eerily quiet. Concerned, they called for help. It was then that law enforcement arrived at the scene, only to discover the lifeless bodies of both teens, shot behind the counter. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office immediately launched an investigation, and while the evidence pointed to an intruder, little else was known about the circumstances of the murders. Both Stephanie and Nick had been shot at least once by an unknown assailant, though no weapon or any other clear evidence was left behind. Despite the evidence pointing towards an intruder, there was no signs of robbery. The cash register wasn't empty, and neither of their wallets were taken. There's also no sign of sexual assault or rape on any of the victims. The investigators were at a standstill. Now, unfortunately, this is something I have to point out. Stephanie's mother discovered what had happened at the subway on the news. I still didn't know why her car would be there, but I had no idea it could be her. I was very worried. All this time, she's thinking, why is her car there? What's going on? Where's Stephanie? And just as she's putting things together, police came on her door and told her what happened. She didn't want to believe it at first, but at that moment, she knew that her daughter was gone. And she said it was the most awful feeling she had ever experienced in her life. I cannot imagine that moment. You saw that on the news. You didn't want to believe your daughter would sneak out to see her boyfriend that night, but ultimately, that's what happened. As the investigation unfolded, multiple theories and suspects emerged, but as the years went on, the case grew colder. Here's some key details from the investigation. The police have a suspect. A man was seen fleeing the Subway restaurant shortly after the murders. He was described as a white male, aged between 16 to 20 years old, approximately 5'7" or 5 to 5'8" in height, and weighed around 150 to 170 pounds. He was reportedly clean-shaven, with blonde hair, wearing a black coat and red linen, blue jeans, and tennis shoes. The description remains the only lead in the case, but it has yet to yield any solid results. As for other theories, police soon discovered that a little drug ring was working near the subway. Now, they did investigate this. Maybe this was drug-related, a case of mistaken identity, but as this resulted in a possible motive, that did not yield in anything. But the police did look into this in the drug ring, but there was no evidence that Stephanie and Nick were involved in this ring. They had any awareness of the ring. Nick had no idea. Nick was the one working at the subway, but they had no evidence towards it. The most perplexing aspect of this case is the lack of a clear motive. The victims had no enemies. The subway had no history of troubling incidents other than the drug ring. Leading up to that fateful night, the possibility of a robbery gone wrong has been considered, but nothing, like I said before, was taken from the store. The wallets were not taken, no cash from the register, nothing valuable was taken. You would assume so. And this was without fear and terror. You would expect for them to be tortured for hours, maybe, and something to be seen in front of them. But it was they were just shot. This has led to multiple theories, but we'll get to that at the end. As for what police do have in terms of evidence, they did say they have DNA. Most likely from a struggle, maybe they got DNA from the bullets, but we don't know. Evidence besides the DNA, they have the bullets from the gun, so they know what kind of gun was used, but I couldn't find out which gun or weapon they believed was the brand, the caliber. That I couldn't find out. The bodies themselves, that's the evidence, and Stephanie's car. So this is a big piece of information. According to it, there seemed to be no damage done to Stephanie's car. The killer just walked into the store and shot both of them. They didn't attempt to get into the car, so car robbery wasn't the motive, because if they did, they would have taken Stephanie's keys and take her car. So robbery was clearly not the motive, but auto robbery was not the motive here. This has led to multiple theories and speculations, and now let's go through those. Theory one is this was revenge or personal grudge. Some investigators have speculated that this could have been a targeted attack, some perhaps connected to someone who had a personal vendetta against one or both of the victims. That could be maybe a high school rival, maybe someone who had a little thing for Stephanie or Nick, and seeing them together, they got angry and took it out on them. They were killed on Valentine's Day. So that's an important detail. We are hitting 25 years since these murders have remained unsolved. And they were killed on Valentine's Day. So this could have been a jilted lover or personal vendetta against them for being in love and just being angry. But police looked at all their classmates and friends, and no one seemed to be ruled out. But someone could have slipped through the cracks. Theory two. This was a random act of violence where the perpetrator targeted the restaurant at random, killing the two teens in the process. Killing someone or two people because they want to. And that is very likely a very good theory. But as of right now, there's no evidence pointing towards that. But when you look at the fact that there was no robbery, no torture, sexual assault whatsoever, it does point to this not having a clear motive, the random act of violence. That would make sense. Now, theory three is a case of mistaken identity. Remember, that there was a little drug ring that was rumored to be happening in the area. Is it possible that one of the people connected went to the restaurant, asked Nick and Stephanie about the drugs? They had no idea. They realized that they basically just revealed their operations, fearing they were going to get caught and get arrested, kill both of them to ensure their silence. That would make sense because if there's no evidence of a struggle, no evidence of nothing, that would make sense. You would panic. The killer would have panicked when he realized that I just revealed this thing. They're going to tell the cops and then kill them to ensure their silence, especially if it happens so fast. Now, theory four will be a robbery motive, but once again, this is not really a possible theory because there was no evidence of anything taken, no valuable items. The store wasn't trashed. Remember, Stephanie's car wasn't taken either, and the killer could have easily taken her keys and driven out of the area, but her car was still at the scene after she was killed. So, with no money, so with the killer not taking the money, no vehicles, no jewelry, nothing, that theory is very unlikely, but it could have been a robbery gone wrong, where he killed them, wanted to rob them, killed them both, panicked, and then left. So that's one theory with robbery. And the last theory is unfortunately connected to the Columbine massacre. The killer had a fascination with the murders. Unfortunately, there is a huge number of people who have an unfortunate obsession with these murders, even finding sympathy for the two killers involved, who I will not name because they need no more notoriety as they already have. Wanted to honor their heroes, dressed in a similar outfit to them, and then committed the murders in honor of them. Wanted to recreate the fear, the panic by taking the lives of two people. When you look at the fact that they were both shot, the killer was seen wearing a black coat. That was actually what the killers wore in some of their homemade movies that was later released, that was later shown to police. It's very possible that this was someone trying to honor the Columbine killer, especially in way by honoring them. But the dates, while that would make sense, you want to recreate that fear and panic by killing two people with guns like they did. They did shoot people in the shooting, obviously, and wearing the same outfit. The dates would make sense because if they wanted to cause the fear and panic, they would have waited till the month of the shooting. The shooting didn't have to happen in early spring. The shooting happened, and this murder happened in February. So that wouldn't make any sense, in my opinion. You want to be honoring on the anniversary of that day or whatever. But it's very possible. And like always at the end, my theory. I think it's possible that this was a random act of violence. Despite my small theory, the small part of my head that thinks that this could have been someone connected to Columbine killing, there's no evidence of it. You didn't really have that at the crime scene. You didn't have someone saying "Long live Columbine," but when you look at the fact that there's nothing really pointing towards someone commemorating their hero, there's no robbery, SA, for me, it's just like a random act of violence. I think someone came in there either with a motive to either rob, the motive to kill someone because they wanted to. And Nick and Stephanie, unfortunately, were the cause of that. However, no solid leads have emerged from these theories, leaving authorities with more questions than answers. As after over 25 years, because this happened in 2000, so this upcoming Valentine's Day will be the 25th anniversary, the case remains unsolved. But in February 2021, 4 years ago, an effort to bring justice to Stephanie and Nick's families happened. The reward for information in the case was increased to a staggering $100,000. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, Metro Denver Crime Stoppers, and several subway-related donors, including who were anonymous, came together to offer this reward. Jefferson County Sheriff Jeff Shotters said it best. With this significant increased reward, people who haven't come forward with their information will be much more likely to do so now. We are continuing to our diligent work to bring justice to Nicholas and Stephanie. And for me, that's like, it's not going to stop until someone's in handcuffs and someone has been caught. And I really admire that for any investigation. If you have any information about the murders of Stephanie Hart-Grizzell and Nick Kunselman, please contact Metro Denver Crime Stoppers at 520-913-7867 or submit a tip online. And remember, tipsters can remain anonymous. This case is not just about solving a crime. It's about bringing peace to two families that have waited far too long for answers. It's about ensuring justice is served, no matter how much time has passed. And the time is now. It's 25 years. If you know anything, the smallest tip could bring justice to these families. For me, it makes no sense how it could be 25 years. Murders and murder cases have been solved. We're getting the names of Jane and John Doe's. This case can be next. You can bring justice to these families. It's been 25 years. Make that call. Make sure they get the justice if they deserve. Even if the killer is no longer with us anymore, you can be the one that can finally tell the families what happened. Who did it? Maybe we don't get a why, but it's who. And no longer be in this circle anymore. They can just take it easy now. Stephanie and Nick were more than just victims. They were young individuals with dreams, passions, and a future ahead of them. Their tragic deaths should not be forgotten. And that is not how they should be remembered. They should remember how they lived in life. Artistic, free young people who had their whole lives ahead of them. Their families still hold out onto hope that one day someone will come forward with the critical piece of information that could bring justice to them. We hope this podcast serves as a reminder that their stories matter, their lives matter, and there's always a possibility of justice, even after years of silence. Thank you for listening to Exploring the Unsolved with Melissa. Please share this story with others and help us keep the search for justice alive. Even if you have any information on this case or any other cold cases that we have covered, don't stay silent. Come forward. Go to the right authorities. If you're afraid for your safety, you could be anonymous or ask for help. It's worth it for justice in the end. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and never stop seeking the truth.